Hi everyone, Ray Bondorew here. Today we're going to be tying up a yellow foam popper for smallmouth and largemouth bass, or basically anything that'll hit it. Perhaps my favorite way of fishing for trout and bass is fishing on the surface, and I think that fly rod popper fishing for smallmouths is probably at the top of it. Anyway, I began fooling with foam about 25 years ago as a result of tying up some foam bluegill bugs. One thing led to another, and I wound up using foam for some of my fly rod poppers. We're going to begin. We're going to be using a 3261. It's a live bait hook. It's a very fine wire. I originally started using this particular hook because of its lightweight, and because I actually wanted to use a bunny strip for a tail. So I'm going to be cutting a little bit of bunny fur off a bunny strip. We're going to begin with wrapping some red thread on the shank here. And the reason I'm using red is because it's going to give us a touch of a different color. So the thing won't be completely yellow. So I just find a good base layer of the red on, just so things will adhere to the shank and not spin. In some of the bluegill bugs, the tying thread is actually the body, but in this particular case it's not going to be. So we get a little bunny strip, and we're going to put that somewhere in the back here. Strip back a little, and we really want to make sure that we tie this in place as we want it to sit in the finished product, because this will tend to turn. An easy way, which I should do, is to hit it with some super glue. That'll hold it in place good. But anyway, wrapping some red thread in. Next step, we're going to get the foam. The top of the bug is going to be foam that's folded over and forming like a shell back. This foam comes in various thicknesses. There's 2, 3, and about 1/4 inch size, which is found on door knockers for children's rooms and that. But I like to use the 3mm. Start off by cutting a strip that's about 3/8 of an inch wide. And once we cut that strip, we're going to want to put a little V shape to it. The V is going to be about the length of the hook. When we wind that on next, this stuff will compress quite a bit. Not really worried about a lot of bulk from it. Wind that up pretty good. We can go back a little further. And plus it being on the body and that will help it float even better. You make it a little bit more buoyant. Once that's in place, first thing we want to do is to add just a touch of superglue. These little vials, as I've said in my other videos where I've used superglue, are probably the thing to use, because they apply like 1 drop at a time. They don't get clogged up, and they work perfect for this type of stuff. Next, we're going to cut a yellow Estes, or in this case pearl chenille. This is some fluorescent yellow pearl chenille. We're going to strip back a little bit of it, the way we tie it onto the bug itself. Strip it on, and if you're lucky that super glue hasn't quite dried and this thread's going to be in there. I mean, this There's pearl chenille is going to be in there pretty good. So once that's in place, we just want to wind it forward. As you can see, there's going to be a little red showing through this, which is not a bad thing. And I'll wind up tying this back up here, up toward the head. Trim it off. Then we pull this thing forward, and we're going to tie it down several turns, fix it in place so it's straight. And we can put some few rubber legs. Found out the easiest way to do this is just get, instead of trying to tie them two across the back and separate them, just tie them in one at a time. Take one wrap around and you can kind of like get them into place and adjust them into position you want with one or two wraps before you really sock this in. And put the other on the other side. Make sure we get this through the middle of this. And then this will be basically in place. And it looks like it's in pretty good position, so we're not going to adjust it. We crank this in. Now, we can either leave this and cut it up here, or we can fold this back, giving us a little stiffer head. In this case, this is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to fold this back and give us a little stiffer head. Sort of like I have on my splinter mice that I tie. And once that's in place there, we really give it a good turn. Then we can wrap in front and kind of force this thing back a bit. Run toward the eye. Trying to find a half hitch tool. You can want this thing to be somewhere in place. Do it right, we probably can whip finish this in. See, this would not be a problem if I hadn't folded that back, but I wanted to fold it back to give it a little stiffer head. I know I don't think this is going to work, so we're just going to give this a series of half hitches in here. And give it a couple more for good luck. As you can see, we're having a little problem here, but that's okay. The job gets done. Anyway, we can put a drop of Superglue on top of this right here. That'll basically hold the legs and that, and it also that's about it. And a couple of drops of head lacquer. We can adjust the legs to the distance we want. These are pretty long. These are decent. And make them the same. And there we have it. That thing will definitely catch some fish. It's